It's time to go on the record with WRAL News.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Brian Shrader, and welcome to On the Record. We are talking about growth this week. We've talked a lot about growth around the Triangle, and today we're focused on Johnston County. Now, I grew up in Fuquay-Varina, and when I was a kid, Johnston County was largely rural. We're talking about agriculture, tobacco, small towns. So I went back into the archives here at WRAL to give you a taste of what was happening in Johnston County back in 1986. And even back then, people knew that that area was going to grow quickly.
The completion of I-40 through Johnston County could make country living even more attractive. Once I-40 does open, commuters will have only a short drive to the Triangle. Planners say growth in Johnston County will really take off then. They say the current population of 70,000 will jump past 100,000 by the turn of the century.
And it soared past 100,000 at the turn of the 21st century, hitting more than 120,000. And it hasn't stopped since then. Take a look at the growth today. Last year, an estimated 250,000 people lived in Johnston County, and that is up more than 15% since 2020. And the state estimates that number will hit 290,000 by the year 2030. So we are talking about what that looks like now and how the county is handling that influx. And I have a panel of guests here to join me tonight to talk about that. Chris Johnson is the director of the Johnston County Economic Development Office. Dave Harris is the director at the Johnston Regional Airport. And Matt Tolliver is the CEO of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Wake County, which now also serves Johnston County. And thank you so much for being with us, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Chris Johnson, not Johnston, Director of Economic Development in Johnston County. You know, I look at your LinkedIn. You seem to be at a different conference every week, all over the country. What is your pitch to companies about coming to Johnston County?
Well, obviously, first and foremost, it's about being a part of the Triangle region. For a lot of people, particularly in Wake County, they still think of Johnston County being way out there, but when in reality, we're only a few minutes from downtown Raleigh, and a few minutes from all the selling points that our halo counties around Wake County and Raleigh talk about, which is the RDU International Airport, the three major universities, NC State, Carolina Duke, downtown Raleigh, but also the Research Triangle Park. And so that's kind of where I started the epicenter, and then work out and talk about all the amenities and the things that we've got going on in Johnston County, which I'm very proud of.
It used to be we would talk about in Wake County, well, we can't afford to live in Wake County. We'll go live in Johnston County where it's cheaper. But you're experiencing that kind of growth there in terms of home prices as well.
We are,
yeah.
and that's a little concerning, obviously, because it's, you know, we want to be the affordability for our existing residents, but obviously as the Triangle grows and as Raleigh grows, so does Johnston County. And so we've seen that in land prices, and that is kind of, you know, bumping up against what I do predominantly, which is industrial recruitment. And so when it affects industrial opportunities because of residential growth, you know, gobbling up or taking off the market prime industrial space, it can be kind of concerning.
You've had some big victories in the industrial recruitment there. Last year, Novo Nordisk, a $4.1 billion expansion in Clayton. Talk about that project.
Sure thing. Well, that's on the heels of a $2 billion expansion that we saw back in 2015 and 16, and then obviously with the growth there, they're well over 3,000 employees. Grifols Therapeutics is right next door, and they're pushing right at 2,000. So we've got a great synergy there in the life science sector, and it's because of the commitment that our leadership made 20 plus years ago in the Workforce Development Center, and the commitment of making sure that good quality workers are being trained at the community college level, and providing an income that can, you know, provide a live, work, play. But then also those two facilities actually is a super regional employment center, because if you check with the North Carolina Biotechnology Center, there's actually employees that come from 25 counties into that facility. So, you know, when you think of a quarter of the state of North Carolina working in the town of Clayton at those two facilities, it's pretty remarkable.
You mentioned the Johnston Community College. They have that BioWorks certificate program. Mm-hmm. Having the educational infrastructure there, I know, is a big help to you as your recruiting industry.
Right. Well, I mean, obviously, when you think about worker training and attracting talent, anytime that I meet with any company, whether it's life science or any advanced manufacturing, the first thing out of their mouth or question is where am I going to get my talent? And obviously, with the growth of Johnston County that we've seen, our labor shed just in the county alone is over 125 or nearly 125,000 residents. But yet, sadly, 70% of them get on the road every day and work elsewhere. And I jokingly tell them, I said, only thing you have to do is turn on WRAL about 6:45 and say, here's a live shot at the Clayton bypass into 40, and you'll see, those cars leaving every day. I mean, I literally have had those conversations numerous times and have mentioned your name. And so, but what we're trying to do is show the opportunity that you can stay in Johnston County, you can live in Johnston County, but also you can work in that. So, we were very proud and one of the first ones that implemented the BioWorks or started that Workforce Development Center in Clayton. And then today we're actually listening to our employers and saying, why are we waiting till they graduate to then send them to community college? Why don't we start implementing those curriculums at the high school level? So we're one of the few, or one of the first in the state that are actually implementing the BioWorks curriculum into all the high schools in Johnston County. So when you think about individuals that may come from broken homes, may come from families that the pinnacle of their education curriculum is a high school degree, if you can show them a pathway of getting a good paying job at one of our life science communities, and not just in Johnston County, but you think of the ecosystem that we have with what's been announced in Wilson, what's around Holly Springs. I mean, you can literally get a certificate and go to work immediately making $60,000, $75,000 a year with just a high school degree.
And that's huge.
Oh, that's a game changer, particularly for along the I-95 corridor. We really took it on the chin in the mid-90s with the loss of textiles and the offshoring that we saw. In Johnston County alone, we lost over 10,000 jobs during a 3-year period. And then when you add into the fact of the loss of the tobacco industry, I mean, we really kind of took it on the chin of losing employment opportunities. Now, obviously, we had that growth of Raleigh and people coming in and living here, but again, working elsewhere. So my role is to turn those cars around. So you can say it's clear sailing on 40.
And I know a lot of people would be very happy about that.
That's exactly right, yeah.
Coming up, we're going to talk about the role that the Johnston Regional Airport plays in the development of Johnston County. Stay with us. Welcome back. I'm Brian Shrader. Let's focus on what's happening at the Johnston Regional Airport. It is just west of Smithfield and Selma. You see it out there on 70. And it's the state's 4th busiest airport. That surprised me. It's behind Charlotte, Raleigh-Durham, and Piedmont Triad International in Greensboro. And take a look at the role it plays in the economy. The state says it supports almost 1,400 jobs, generates almost $20 million in tax revenue, and has almost $318 million in economic impact. Dave Harris, you're the director of the airport. I think a lot of people probably underestimate the role that a general aviation airport has on supporting a regional economy.
That's right. And most people, when they think of an airport, they either think of something along the lines of RDU, a major commercial service provider, or they're picturing something back in the days of the Wright brothers, a small grass strip with not a whole lot going on. And what Johnston Regional is known as a general aviation reliever. And the FAA's plan is to move as much of the business jets, the flight training, and the private owners away from RDU, where they're free to aviate the way they desire, freely, and to build the economies in those areas as well, while freeing up the commercial service providers to be able to get as many flights in as they possibly can there at RDU. And so Johnston Regional is dedicated as one of those reliever airports. And we've got everything from 15 to 20 corporate jets stationed there, as well as State Highway Patrol with their special operations helicopters, Duke Life Flight with their helicopters supporting the medical needs of the county and the state, as well as a few government support companies such as Triangle Aviation. And then we've got our crown jewel of the airport, which is a professional flight training academy known as Blue Line Aviation, which which really has been the foundation of spearheading the growth out there.
And you're working on, to accommodate this growth, a new control tower plan. Tell us about that.
That's correct. So the FAA determines that a single runway airport, which is what we have at Johnston Regional, can support about 200,000 operations per day, which is a combination of takeoffs, landings, and flyovers of the airport. So that's combining what's going on the ground as well as in the air. We have been operating 4 years ago at about 40,000, and we're all the way up to 120,000 forecast for this year. So we're pushing very close to that maximum for the single runway. The 200,000 number is predicated on having a control tower in order to deconflict that traffic on the ground as well as in the air. So last year, the FAA determined that it would be in the best interest of aviation as a whole to go ahead and bring a tower to Johnston Regional to support that growth and maintain the safety and efficiency of the airport.
Chris, how important is this when you're going to industry and saying, come to Johnston County, we've got a good airport?
Sure. I mean, the key thing first, when you think about just the corporate traffic that comes in, individuals like Caterpillar, which has a facility in Johnston County as well as Lee County, having their aircraft fly in. Obviously, I am there kind of as the welcome committee. Dave's staff does a tremendous job of keeping me in tune because my office is located in the airport facility. So it's one of those things I didn't truly appreciate until I got out there and saw the economic impact of that. But then when you think about the millions of planes that are in the area, that if they could locate in Johnston County and call that home, you think about the tax base. Obviously, it doesn't you don't have to educate any kids. You don't have to be worried about water or sewer. You're talking about millions and millions of dollars of revenue for the county and the community, plus they drink up a lot of fuel, so there's fuel cells in that. So it's a huge economic engine that I see.
Yeah. We want to make sure that everybody in Johnston County is able to take advantage of this growth, no matter what their background is. And Matt Tolliver with Boys and Girls Clubs of Wake County and also with Johnston County, that's a big part of what your organization does. I think a lot of people have seen Boys and Girls Clubs, but they're not really sure what it does. Tell us about it.
It's so funny you say that because we have a saying that Boys and Girls Clubs are well known, but we're not known well. And so there's a lot of folks that don't really understand. They've heard of us and they think that we're an after-school daycare center, and that couldn't be further from the truth. We consider ourselves to be in youth development. We serve youth all the way from kindergarten up through seniors in high school, age 18. And youth development is all about surrounding that child with caring adult mentors and helping them achieve academic success and making sure that they stay healthy and get the exercise that they need, and also to get character development. And so we provide opportunities to ensure that we put all of the youth on the right path.
Tell us about what's going on in Johnston County.
So in Johnston County, to go back in history just a little bit, the Boys and Girls Clubs has been open for 58 years, since 1968. And so when you take a look at the growth, it started out as one small club in Oakdale, and then is now we serve and have 10 different facilities all across. And last year, for the first time in the Boys and Girls Club's history, we expanded into Johnston County. And so we opened up 2 facilities in Johnston County in both Selma and Smithfield. And we're serving over 200 kids every single year through our services, yeah.
And you were talking about this incredible value, this program. $7.50 is all it costs to do what?
That's right. So $7.50 is what it costs a family to put a youth into our club for the entire year.
Wow.
Right? And so we're open every afternoon after school from 2:30 in the afternoon until 6:30 in the Johnston County sites. And so they come into our clubs every single day. So our saying is if school's closed, we're open. Right? So we bridge that gap between school and home. And again, our youth go home with their homework done. They go home getting new skills and making new friends. And the older they get, the more impact that we can begin to have to prepare them as they graduate from high school, to give them with life skills in terms of workforce development and workforce readiness, and providing them with access to opportunities that they would know or otherwise not have. And also, we're open every day during the summer. So when you think about all of that value that we provide, again, going from kindergarten up through age 18, we provide that service at only $7.50 a year.
It's an incredible value for those families.
For sure.
Making a lot of difference in the community. Stay with us. Coming up, we're going to talk about some big changes coming for Four Oaks, a big opportunity that'll be starting there pretty soon. It's coming up after this. And welcome back. During the break, we were talking about the work that the Boys and Girls Clubs provides is not just helping children, it's really freeing families to take advantage of all of those economic opportunities. Talk about that.
Sure. So just last week, I sat down and I was talking to a mother of one of our kids to help me understand what value we provide for you, not only just for your child, but for your entire family. And what she played back to me was she said, Matt, if you weren't here, I couldn't work. And so what we talk about a lot at the club is that our impact goes beyond the child, it goes to the family, and it goes also to the community, because our parents are able to work, they're able to earn a living and give back to the communities in which they live.
And that's huge for the message that you're bringing to people.
Our employers are obviously one of the things that ask about is, you talk about transportation, childcare, quality of life, affordable housing, all the things that we feel like Johnston County can cover. The Boys and Girls Club is obviously a huge economic partner. In a not maybe the traditional sense, but a non-traditional, of being able to again develop that talent pipeline, both the kids that they're serving and providing them a pathway forward, the soft skills that they need when interviewing or meeting with potential employers. So it's a huge win for Johnston County.
Chris, I want to talk about Four Oaks and the Advanced Manufacturing Training Center. This is a very big deal.
It is, and it really kind of on the cusp of what we modeled in the town of Clayton with the BioWork Training Center there, and that shining example. You think about 20 years ago, it was a $7 million investment by our community for our life science company. Well, 20 years ago, $7 million. Now you think about the $10 billion has been invested both by Novo and Grifols in that area. It's a good return on investment. So we feel like we're going to try to duplicate those efforts in the town of Four Oaks, which along the I-95 corridor, in partnership with the General Assembly as well as our county commissioners, have all put in about $20 million each for a 70,000 square foot advanced manufacturing facility. It's being constructed and overseen by the I-95 I-40 Alliance, Reed Williams and his team, again, and just another economic development partner. And they're constructing the facility because of speed to market and doing things a little bit quicker. And then they're going to deliver it later this summer and donate it to the Johnston County Community College with the efforts of creating more jobs here in Johnston County to turn those cars around.
Johnston County benefits from having I-40, I-95, and soon I-42 moving right through the middle of the county. And I know that's something industry looks for. I know that's something that's important for transportation connectivity. That's a very big deal to have yet another interstate designation.
Right. We'll have probably one of the few counties in the state of North Carolina that will actually have 3 interstates that dissect the community. And then when you think about the new section of 540 that has just opened up this past year, I mean, it's truly the Johnston County's growth and its future really it can be tied back to transportation. Whether it's, a buddy of mine, Linwood Parker, talks about Smithfield was established because of the river and the moving goods and services, and then in the 1800s the railroad came along, and every community in Johnston County was built along the railroad line. And today, when you think about I-95 and 40, it's the lifeblood of our future.
In our remaining minutes here, I want to talk a little bit about the challenges that you all are facing now, that you think the county is going to be facing especially over the next 5 years as we get close to 300,000 people in Johnston County. Dave, what are you seeing?
Well, with any large growth phase like this, as we're going, the housing that we're talking about that we very much want to bring into the county to support its growth is also encroaching upon the airport. And then we want to grow the airport, which is now, kind of at odds with that growth in housing. And so we work really closely together with economic development, with the county commissioners, and the planning boards to ensure that as we support this housing growth, it doesn't encroach so much upon the airport that the airport is considered a nuisance, and now we're at odds with one another. And so we have a fantastic relationship with the town of Smithfield, with Wilson Mills, and the other neighboring towns to ensure that as they are growing, they're not growing in such a way that it's going to create any issues coexisting with the airport. Because as you were talking about the commuters going in and out of Raleigh, you can picture the same thing in the airways. I-95 exists in the sky as well, and Johnston Regional sits directly underneath of it, which is one of the reasons why the corporate jets enjoy using our facility so much, because they can drop in, stay outside of Raleigh's busy airspace, get their fuel, but now with 540 and all the other connectors, they can get straight into Raleigh and or the pharmaceutical locations that we have right here in Johnston County. So that same paradigm exists with the airfield as well.
Chris, what are your biggest challenges?
Well, my role is economic developer, but probably the challenge is one industry that I haven't talked about, which is our biggest industry, which is our agricultural industry, and trying to preserve the agricultural heritage that truly made what Johnston County is, and trying to fit that, meeting the needs of our citizens, meeting the needs of citizens that want to move into Johnston County, but then obviously preserving our agricultural heritage, but then also growing jobs.
Matt?
For us, it's all about capacity, right? As the communities grow, as more people are moving into Johnston County, we need to be able to find more space, right? We were full when we opened, just 2 facilities, so we need to look for additional places to go and to be able to serve more children. And along with that comes additional funding and support that we need in order to be able to provide the services that we do.
And how can people help?
They can go to our website, and there's a donate button at wakecountybgc.org.
Excellent. Matt Tolliver, Dave Harris, and Chris Johnson, thank you so much for being with us. Johnston County is growing quickly, no question about it, and it's so interesting to see how much it has changed just in the past few years and what it is likely going to look like in 2030 with 290,000 people maybe living there. We will be keeping up with that story for sure here on WRAL. And if you have something that you'd like to say about tonight's discussion, we would like to hear from you. You can email us your comments, questions, or criticisms. Send it to us at ontherecord@WRAL.com. We appreciate your time. Thanks for watching. I'm Brian Shrader.